face.
Probably not the hyper proactive and in your face if you are on the side of Vitality, but after losing to it 2 times in a row, they have made the decision to remove. And I think that with Vitality coming over to the blue side, they maybe feel less pressure to ban away some specific champions on red and are now looking specifically for the 2 champs that have worked for Fnatic this series.
And that is the Karthus and the Lissandra. Now for Fnatic, still draining away the Draven. We still see the Hecarim taken off the board, the Rakan taken away from Hylissang as well, but a lot of engage options taken away, a lot of safe picks taken away, and of course, the clutch Karthus off the board as well.
And speaking slightly to this Rakan ban, because we have seen it so much, I think it is worth pointing out that the Xayah has been so good on this patch, big buffs to the attack speed on the W, that removing Rakan makes the pairing a little worse.
But I do want to talk about the champion that slipped through Fnatic's bans, which have been consistent this entire series so far, Draven, Hecarim, and Jayce. This time around, now leaving it open, this is a very easy pickup for Cabo.
Yeah, Cabochard feels so comfortable on this champion, and Vitality love to have him on something that can dominate in the 1v1. But the problem is, that has not worked for them so far in this series. Fnatic leaving it open, it almost feels like have Vitality right where they want them.
And the thing that we saw in Game 2 that we liked was getting a top lane pick for Cabo that could impact the team fights more. Now, Jayce with the lead is, of course, a disgusting champion, but in an even game, this guy is not a team-fighting threat. He is a solo lane terror, no doubt, but if it comes down to team fights and engages once again, this is going to be even harder for Vitality, while Fnatic have gotten that priority Braum they haven't been able to get their hands on yet.
Now, thinking here, I say maybe they lock into Lucian with the Braum. It's a very strong 2v2 pairing. But the way Fnatic have been playing these games is not by attacking Vitality in the early game, especially with their laners. Instead, they look more towards the scaling option, which is where the lock-in of the Rek'Sai changes this, because Rek'Sai can take over and dominate the early game.
And the reality is that when you see the likes of a Jayce, a Braum is a very safe pickup because he can deny a lot of that damage or help absorb it if there is a group-up factor where Jayce is throwing these Qs into Braum shield.
But now we see the Jinx and the Thresh rounding this out, so a bit more playmaking potential, a bit more roam potential for Jactroll if he does want to leave this lane, as well as another hyper-scaling carry option on the side of Attila.
It's also really safe, long-range wave clear. If Jiizuke also picks up someone who can side lane, we know that that's exactly where Cabochard wants to be. It's so easy for Attila and Jactroll to execute on Jinx Thresh in that mid lane to just absorb all of the farm and stall out for his sides.
Exactly. The Lantern, a very good tool as well to keep the low mobility AD carry in the Jinx safe. But looking at how these first 3 picks have come in, I want to take back a little bit of what I've said about this Jayce, because I don't think it's worked so far for Vitality having the strong top laner in this series. Yet the side of Fnatic doesn't have a lot of hard engage. When you think Braum and you think Rek'Sai, you think decent supplementary CC, but these aren't the champions that are really going to start the fight, and that's why Fnatic work in the Sivir for themselves. But now they need something out of the top lane from Bwipo to get fights going, because their answer so far this series has been Nemesis on Lissandra, but with that banned away, it becomes much harder to force the 5v5s.
And interesting to see as well what the mid lane matchup is going to look like. We now see that the Lissandra cannot be priority picked early. We do see the little Blanc being taken off the board, limiting some of the options Jiizuke can bring to the table. Yamato sitting very close, very cozy, trying to set this up, keeping it casual, keeping the boys, comfortable heading into a very high-pressure Game 3.
And Yamato's the type of coach that, when push comes to shove, when the pressure is really on his team, he goes to his players and he says, what is the comfort pick? What do you want to play? What do you trust that you can execute on? Because Jactroll previously got so much shade for the likes of his Thresh, but in the high-pressure game when it counts, Jactroll, you feel confident to play Thresh? Take it. Jiizuke, what do you need? What power can I help give you?
And that's the question. What is Jiizuke on? What is Mowgli on? Because the mid-jungle 2v2, I think, is actually very pivotal.
We're going to have to hold that thought, because there she is, ladies and gentlemen, the Kayle. We've experienced her in solo queue. Now we get to see her on the LEC stage.
And in between the break, we were wondering, what is the Kayle going to be? Is she going to be in the game? And if a team is going to pick her, it has to be Fnatic. Now, she can go mid lane or top lane. Bwipo and Nemesis have both played here, but on the other side of things, it is such a strong mid-jungle 2v2. That was the question. They answered with gragas Yasuo.
What do you want to play? I want to play Yasuo, coach. Sign me up.
Oh, man. What do they give to Bwipo now? Looks like Sion going into the top lane.
It's the hard engage that they needed. Fnatic, they needed some way to start off fights, especially in the mid to late game, because they have so much scaling on their side. Sivir plus Kayle is absolutely monstrous in the 5v5 team fights, and if they can get to level 16 for Kayle to 3 items on this Sivir, Fnatic are going to be in a good spot.
But that's if they can get there. Like you're saying, they have all of the tools that, hey, Vitality, they've been trying to attack us in the lane phase. Even when they get these incremental advantages, they are unable to snowball, unable to capitalize. We can wait this one out, boys. Worst case scenario, just drive this 3-0 home. Whereas on the other side, Vitality throw it all down. You know, this is when you leave the blood on the court. You've got Cabochard's Jayce, you have Gragas and Yasuo, you have Jinx and Thresh, you have everything that you need to be successful.
But on the opposite side, for Fnatic, if Vitality struggle again, if they misstep, if they make mistakes, Fnatic's team is terrifying in the late game. They need to win. They need to win pretty quickly. Wind Wall is going to be their saving grace, but I don't know if it's going to be enough against the likes of a Sivir and a Kayle as we move later into the game. And for the first time, a true frontliner for Bwipo to make sure that champions like the Yasuo struggle to execute in these team fights.
And you also asked the question, like, Vitality on their side, how do they get Cabochard ahead? How can they win that side lane matchup? Well, they can win early, but eventually Sion is just going to be so tanky, and they've really struggled to deal with Bwipo on the day. Questions have been asked. Now it's time for them to be answered as Fnatic, they look for the 3-0, and Vitality have to stay alive.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is do or die for Vitality. Win here, move up. A chance to go to Rotterdam. It does indeed start here, and it very well could end here for Vitality. If Fnatic have anything to say about it, on the cusp of a 3-0, on extending their win streak to 11 games, Fnatic dominance could very well be the story of the day.
The crowd can taste it. I assume Fnatic the same, but let's take a moment and let's focus in on Kayle. This is the first time that we've seen her in the LEC. She has been played over in the LPL as well as the LCK, two mixed bags of success. And the key thing that you need to understand with this champion is that she is gated by levels. So much of her power comes with her passive at level 6, level 11, and level 16. You can keep track of it. When she's got a lot of wings, she is absolutely terrifying.
But the key distinction to make is, while in most games it's level 1, 6, 11, 16, when you take Kleptomancy, there's a very low % chance that you can roll the elixir of skill. Her passive actually states it's not what level you are, it's how many skill points you have invested. So Nemesis with the Kleptomancy wants to get that elixir of skill so he can get his true damage on every auto attack at level 15 or become ranged at level 10, and that's what is so strong about this combo.
And you can see the pattern here in the bottom corner of your screen. Of course, the longer Kayle stays in combat, the more attack speed she gets. Level 1, yeah, not too scary. It gets a little scarier at level 6, and by the time you get to level 11, once you are a ranged champion, truly terrifying. Level 16, the final breakpoint is murder. And the only way to describe it.
The magic number that you're looking for is 5. She needs 5. Now, a lot of people will take Conqueror on Kayle in solo queue because they like the idea of you stack up the Conqueror when you start stacking up all of those auto attacks, get that attack speed, get that splash damage, get that true damage. But the crit build is what I expect to come out from Nemesis here, because you can actually crit on the true damage splash.
Exactly. Typically what you see the Kayles go for in their build path is very similar to a Corki, where you go for the first item, Trinity Force, just because basically everything on that item she appreciates. It's 20% CDR, which is very important for proccing your E multiple times in fights, but also attack speed, the Sheen proc, valuable as well, and the Fade just keep running and keep people inside of your auto attack range. And then you go into the crit with the Rapid Fire Cannon and the Infinity Edge.
And the other really important thing, and I've seen this happen a lot in solo queue, your ultimate is not there to make you Tryndamere. You cannot, you're locked out of your auto attack when you're in the ultimate. It's to put onto your tank someone like a Sion and let them engage and be invulnerable, and then to start stacking up all of your power.
Well, as we focus on the Kayle, we'll wait till she has a few more levels under her belt to get back on the topic. For now, Jiizuke doing what he can to keep pressure up in this lane. You can see a very heal-centric build coming in from Jiizuke, has both the fleet footwork as well as domination secondary for some additional healing. Mowgli doing what he can to keep this lane pushing forward, and one of the first times we've seen Mowgli not immediately playing around the top side of the map.
Instead, playing to sort of counteract the enemy jungler. Broxah was briefly spotted on a ward placed in the river. You can see the debris right there, and Mowgli instead says, I'm going to come to the bottom side. I know Broxah cleared his whole red side, and maybe look for some pressure on the mid lane, because Nemesis is out of mana. It has to play very far back in this lane. Yasuo has the ability to engage on him very quickly, and that can make it difficult, especially when he's running the teleport up against Jiizuke's Ignite.
Jiizuke, of course, getting an early level advantage could be huge. It has the tornado now stacked up. Flashing backwards, use the tornado for the double knockup. Now needs to dash through. Jiizuke looking for another creep to get out the wind wall. Not going to be useful. First blood dropping for Broxah.
Yeah, Jiizuke actually did play that well once the engage came in, but bottom lane's going very aggressive, getting heated. Jiizuke had to flash before Broxah pulled off his flash. He was able to do it and bait the summoner out of Broxah, but unfortunately not able to create enough distance to survive.
And now, of course, the Kayle even more terrifying. The longer she gets to spend in this lane, the more experience she can get, the stronger she's going to get faster. Accelerating that timeline is a terrifying prospect, but for now, it's Attila who has to be scared, flashing away from the boomerang blade of Rekkles, and already Vitality's bot lane not off to a great start.
Just playing that one on a knife's edge, very well done from Jactroll to keep Attila alive, but if he didn't flash, that's Rekkles proccing the Winter's Bite and then connecting probably twice with the boomerang blade. He would have deleted Attila.
Yeah, and the Fnatic bottom lane using so many summoners to make that happen and really putting the pressure down on towards Attila. There's only the exhaust up on the side of Hylissang, but Attila can use the TP to just get back into lane and ignore the damage he just took in the trade.
And that's why you see the confidence from Rekkles and Hilly to play that so aggressively, knowing that they have that battle summoner of the heal kind of in the back pocket versus the TP. They can stay more into these extended all-in fights.
Now notice Mowgli picked up the Predator Boots on his first back and actually just popped them very early on while he was in his jungle, potentially looking for a play around the bottom lane. But actually more importantly, this is something we see when you take it a little bit slower out of the jungle, just to get him onto the map faster so he can clear away the camps, and knowing he probably wasn't going to use that anyways with how much pressure his bottom lane was taking.
And now checking in after what was a lot of early game action, seeing about a 500, 600 gold lead for Fnatic here in the early game, taking control across multiple lanes. Now Cabo, someone we talk about almost every time, but this time around going up against a take, it's not quite as interactive as it once was. Jayce will continue to stack up Klepto, will continue to build a gold lead, but it's not going to amount to a whole lot of tower pressure with Sion clearing the wave, and of course, Summoner Spellbook available if he wants to go for a more aggressive play.
I think it's also making sure that he has more access to not just summoner spell options, but having that flash available more often than not, having lower cooldowns on the summoner. Kind of interesting that he didn't go for something like a grasp.
Yeah, not having the grass, can't really proc it relatively easily in that lane.
Not against Jayce.
Oh my goodness.
Hook landing multiple points of action on the map. We've got our eyes on Cabochard. Knockup is going to come down, and Bwipo grabbing the kill after being ignored for 2 games. This time he's getting a bit of attention.
But that's what you can do on the Rek'Sai. He loops around, not seen by the control ward that Cabochard had put down. And this top lane pick is so strong in the 1v1, but so susceptible to ganks. And because he used the TP earlier, he's going to miss out on an entire minion wave. This is brutal.
I mean, but the big winner is Mowgli. The fact that this is a level 5 Gragas that now gets pretty much a whole wave to himself in the experience means he's that much closer to level 6, and that's going to be the big unlock point for Jiizuke. So we'll see if Vitality in the long run can do something with this.
Yeah, because the mid-jungle 2v2 is very important on the side of Vitality. That being said, Broxah has already hit level 6 of his own, and just clearing away wards inside of the river can maybe look to pressure on towards this bottom lane that was previously pushing up, or make a play on the red buff. He saw the timer on the respawn and knows that he is so strong in any fights around this buff and inside the jungle.
Ooh, and just a difficult spot right now for the Vitality bot lane as well. Jiizuke now trying to extend the play. Of course, ultimate is up and available for Nemesis, but the tornado is going to miss, and Bwipo is on the way down, ready to make a play if necessary. No ultimate available, though, does mean he has to back off. Jiizuke still feeling confident, of course, in this lane matchup. Kayle a little bit more terrifying at level 6 if she can get to the max stacks, but hold that thought, because Attila has died on the bottom side. Huge confidence play coming from Fnatic bot lane. We're going to need a replay of that one.
Yeah, that was just a straight 2-man tower dive right there, and Fnatic had hardly any summoner spells. It was just an exhaust there to lock down Attila, and now with Jactroll having nowhere to go in the bottom lane, he walked mid lane, was maybe looking for a play, but can't make it happen, and Vitality come up with nothing.
Jactroll looking for the hook, is going to find it. This could be huge now, knocking him back. The chain CC has to be perfect if they want to deny the ultimate. Kayle comes down, Divine Judgment, knocked back. A beautiful flash from Nemesis to take him to safety.
Yeah, that's the flash that saves his life right there. Good roam from Jactroll. I like the fact that he's got eyes, he's trying to make something happen for Jiizuke, but frankly, because Attila died in this bottom lane 2v1, because Cabochard has also died in his lane, there's just no options for Mowgli and how he wants to attack the map.
Yeah, that was actually really poorly played from Attila. He stayed for the zap right next to a melee minion, which meant that Braum can just leap on forward, and without a flash on the Jinx, there's absolutely nowhere that champion can go. A massive mistake again here from Vitality, who continue to be punished just as an individual member.
And for so long last year, it felt like individual prowess was the story of Vitality, making these big plays, finding these impossible 2v1 outplays. We saw it in Jiizuke's rise, and this year, in this playoff match, The story thus far in all 3 of our games has been individual mechanical mistakes, and it's a shame to see from a team that was for so long at the top of the table.
I mean, it's just devastating to see Vitality continue to crumble like this. Hopefully, with the time that they've spent in the league, you know, maybe you see some more of that maturity coming out of what is a very young squad still, and rally themselves in this final game to put up a fight against Fnatic. Because these first 2 games, you know, some light spots, especially in the early game, have frankly just felt like you're watching Vitality lose the game.
It's been tough because Vitality have constantly played well early on, but then faltered, and now they're not actually finding those proactive plays. They need Mowgli to make this play happen. There's no flash, no ultimate on Nemesis. All it takes is one ultimate, but Mowgli does not have that spell available. And when you look at the Fnatic team and you see all that scaling on the other side, you feel like the clock is always ticking, and you need to force.
Good news, of course, is that Cabochard gets closer and closer to the Black Cleaver. Huge item break point for the Jayce on the top side up against the Sion. Mowgli now stepping over, but is going to walk face first into Broxah. Will get spotted out here, can try to steal a camp away, but Broxah's going to win the Smite War, and for now they're just going to set their sights on tower plating. Bwipo with no mana means that they can push up pretty comfortably on that top side.
No mana on Bwipo, and also Jiizuke with massive priority here, walking in towards this Fnatic jungle. And there's so many control wards actually to set up this movement to buy Cabochard time to chip away at the turret plates. You can see Jiizuke doesn't actually lose anything for this play because no minions were lost. The wave had been pushed very easily by him, and it gives him that opportunity to get a big win for the top side of the map.
Now we check in on the itemization. However, I mentioned Black Cleaver earlier, Bwipo going for the Righteous Glory, but most importantly, the Kayle, a new champion for many of our viewers, for us as well, and competitive. We do see the Blade of the Rune King appears to be the first itemization choice.
That's something we see just for a little bit more survivability in the laning phase. I hold my breath because Nemesis is in trouble.
Knocked back immediately, and the Attila going to come out, but now Jiizuke is in the midst of the entire team. Nemesis pulling back. They might look for the re-engage to find more. Already the knockup going down, and the Bwipo, he's trying to lock his target down, wants to bite. He's going to get the ultimate coming out. Jiizuke can't flash that one. No option to do it. Broxah getting another Fnatic with the turnaround here in the mid lane.
And it's all Broxah. He does so much damage. They're just diving. What?
Oh, no. This is an absolute slaughter. Ultimate going to be used from Attila there, but still the stopwatch is clutch as Hylissang will manage to survive.
And it's Rekkles and Hilly having the confidence to make a play like that. It's Broxah, round 2.
Is he going to go for anything else?
Bye-bye.
3-0-2 on Rek'Sai.
We wanted to see if Vitality could show us signs of life. A new draft, a new side selection. We thought maybe this was going to be it, but Fnatic just gets stronger and stronger over the course of this series. Every single lane is starting to win on its own outside of top lane, and that is disastrous for Vitality.
But it's also showing that Fnatic aren't just here to sit back and to scale. You know, they don't just want to play this one out slowly and say, we'll see you at 20 minutes. It's the fact that if you give them an opportunity, they will attack you in the lane phase. This is Hilly and Rekkles going to the wall right now, diving Attila and Jactroll multiple times. Anytime they get information about where Mowgli is, they are punishing the fact that their jungler isn't there to save Vitality.
Now look at this. Nemesis actually had time for his ultimate to come back up, so he's able to sort of kite back now, and Broxah does so much damage. The Conqueror is fully stacked. He gets a true damage bite on Jiizuke. Remember, you can't flash that guy, so don't even try. And then Mowgli, without any spells, just loses the fight. That is where Conqueror becomes so strong in the extended trades. But bottom lane, I don't even know what to say.
I mean,
great use of the stopwatch.
Jactroll found the flay, so maybe they're assuming, okay, we're under the tower anyway, we're taking it, we have to go all in, and they've got the stopwatch so you can look for the dive. This is just the cherry on top.
And the thing that a lot of people forget about is just the sheer amount of burst damage that Sivir can have if you tank the full Boomerang Blade, but now, going to move forward, they're trying to back off, and it looks like at the end of the day, Bwipo may give his life, but they used Rift Herald there in that exchange, and the channel was canceled, so Bwipo's going to go down, but trades his life for that cooldown, can clear the wave with the zombie form of Sion as well, and Vitality cannot be happy with that exchange.
And now it's a race of who's going to get the first tower, but it's Fnatic with a very healthy lead. Rekkles, you can see standing behind the tower, waiting for the minion wave, and it will be Fnatic who strike first.
Fnatic getting everything on the map, up 4.6 thousand gold. Let's just go ahead and make that 5K here as they take the turret. Vitality trying to respond on the top side, but notice they take it so quickly that they're still applying pressure. They dominate this bottom quadrant of the jungle. Bwipo, again, is able to absorb pressure, TP's back top, and now they're just going to look to dive mid.
Oh, Jiizuke Tried to go in, saw Nemesis stepping under tower, but the entire team is now on the way. He's getting the reset on the passive, but it is simply not enough. Broxah now on a rampage. Fans wondered in Game 2, why give him the card this again? And it's because if you give him an early game jungler, he is going to make an impact.
Fnatic played the slow and steady game 2 times in a row. Vitality couldn't deal with it. They had to change things up, but that meant giving Broxah the Rek'Sai. Once again, here we go. It's a dive top.
Bwipo so incredibly tanky. Broxah now just going to step forward, walking this kill down, knock back, but Bwipo going to be able to back away in the end. The ulti comes out. Broxah grabs another one. Mowgli is going to be able to grab the shutdown. Hylissang now caught under the tower. Mowgli going to do what he can to delete this wave, but they're stepping forward to grab a bit more. Broxah unstoppable. 3 stacks, looking for the 4th, but we're going to try to step forward, the flash forward to keep it going. They don't really have the damage for this one, but Hylissang just hits him with it anyway.
Calm down, buddy. You're not getting that kill. Vitality actually trying to respond. Notice Jactroll on the flank, but his Moby boots were canceled by the Wolf camp that I think Attila aggroed. They're trying to make the play, but the
cast coming out to disengage in the end, though.
It's the wall. Braum is such a good counter in towards the gragas. You throw up the shield, and then Jactroll gets bait for the dive.
The hook now landing him back, but he's going to give his own life for this exchange. The rocket comes in. Maybe they're going to be able to grab 2 in the end. That's something given back with the TP now coming in. Cabochard here as well. Nemesis level 11. The Kayle is ranged. Jiizuke ready to turn this fight. Bwipo will die in the zombie form in the end, and Cabo may look to extend the play here. Nemesis, Divine Judgment available. He's going to use the ultimate in just a second, trying to get a bit more damage down. Knocked away to stop that from coming through. Vitality desperate to extend this play to get a little bit more here.
The only devastating thing is the fact that it was Mowgli that picked up that double kill right there. This could be a completely different game if it's Jinx that's getting those big kills and is able to snowball herself into the Infinity Edge.
I agree with you 100%, but if there has been a player on Vitality that has consistently been performing well this series, it has been Mowgli. His early games have been good. He's finally on a champion that is dealing damage. I say, yes, it's not ideal, but give him what you have. He now has the Sork shoes as well as the Runic Echoes. Deal some damage, blow people up with the Gragas Yasuo combo. That's all you've got.
And now we take a look at those turret plates, and this tells you the story of the early game. 11-4, so much gold in the pocket of Fnatic, massive lead, but honestly,
that is just sad.
You know you're going to die for that play, but it's a huge difference maker. Stops a lot of gold going to the pocket, and this is a very fed Rek'Sai.
Yeah, but notice Cabochard actually plays this well. He flashes away from the knockup. He's still going to get caught out here at the end, but it means Broxah has to tank way too much. Shutdown goes on over to Mowgli on top of the double kill he got later on, so he's actually very, very fed at the moment. Just not when you see that Fnatic have taken all the other plates on the other side of the rift.
There's that wolf camp you were talking about. That means that Jactroll can't get there in time. Does manage to get it, but it means that he has to tank the tower aggro, which means that they're able to trade at least 1 for 2.
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference maker, because if that fight just happens a little bit over towards the left, you can make it happen, but Fnatic, they've been making it happen all game.
And Nemesis now continuing to push forward. Maybe look for a little bit more damage here. Once 5 stacks get kicked off, the knockup now going to come through. Windwall going to block everything, but Nemesis just walks right past it and finds his kill. Absolutely brutal. And you know, every game it seems like Vitality, maybe they've got an avenue back in, but every game Fnatic are more and more dominant. 16 minutes into the game, an 8K gold lead backing them up now.
And you know, there's a conversation at the top of the day. Who is the strongest team heading into playoffs? You have this monster, you know, G2 and Origin that are sitting in that upper bracket right now, but Fnatic are entering on a massive win streak. They were practically undefeated in the second half of the LEC, only dropping a single game to SK, and now they have this type of form against Vitality. This doesn't look hard for them. This isn't even breaking a sweat.
Yeah, it just looks so easy. And the one game they dropped was the first game of the second half. They have since won their last 10 games in a row, including the 2 today, are on pace to win the 11th. And you wonder, this team can play late game, they can play early game. Broxah has looked like an absolute unstoppable force out of the jungle. What can't this team do? How high can they go?
Bwipo, though, now in trouble. Kayle now coming down. Ultimate could just be used on Bwipo to keep him alive, and it will be. Cabochard now going to find himself in trouble. The stacks are going to come in for the Kayle. Once she gets those flame waves, it's going to be so much harder. You can see Mowgli taking so much damage in the exchange, and the On the Hunt has been used. Predator, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Hylissang throws out the ultimate. No trace for Mowgli. If he steps back, he dies. If he steps forward, he gets hit. Now trying to run as Broxah flashes forward, gives the kill to Rekkles, goes under, comes right back up, and Nemesis on a rampage.
Fnatic are just going to keep pushing right here. They have minion waves. Vitality just looks look completely out of sorts. They try to once again bully Bwipo in the side lane, but Fnatic are having absolutely none of it.
And it was the credit to make sure that when they approached the tower that they grabbed the aggro instead of the minion wave, which I believe only had 2 minions on it, so that they could push through like this. Now they've got the full minion wave very fresh behind them, and it's the difference between not getting a tower and getting an inhib tower on that decision to just say, I've got the aggro, guys.
Look, Fnatic's early game in the second half of the split was so good. Spearheaded by Broxah, they actually had more impressive stats in the early game. In the second half, Hylissang gets on out of there. Jactroll's really trying to catch him.
Yeah, desperately running forward, but there's not a lot of damage here. Nemesis is going to cut through him, but the ultimate now coming in. We'll be able to finish it off with the help of Jinx, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. Cabochard steps forward. That's a very strong Kayle. It does get taken down. Nemesis on the edge of death. He's going to manage to live. He's going to manage to Attila flashes forward. Once the reset, takes a lot of damage, though. Out comes the ultimate. Bye to Attila. They still manage to find the turn.
That's just not even fair, guys. Broxah's 7-1-7. Nemesis is 6-1-6. He flashes away from the barrel. These guys are out of control.
And what I was going to say is that Fnatic are doing this series, not breaking a sweat and not really showing anything, but now showing the power of the Kayle. We're going to see if this pick, if they decide to end it now, if they continue to rampage through playoffs, because this is 4 best-of-5s for Fnatic before they can go to the finals and possibly go to MSI. They've shown that, hey, Kayle probably need to watch out for it.
By the way, this Kayle, at 19 minutes, has 3 completed items, including a Ginsu's, which is not cheap. And you can see in this play, once again, it's like Hylissang walking in because they know just how strong Nemesis is, and Jactroll says, okay, with the rocket, we can get the kill. But just keep your eyes on Nemesis. What can this man do? He immediately explodes him right there, takes the damage, but not even, and then gets knocked back and flash the barrel. Boom. Made it look easy. Has to make Attila use his flash. That means Broxah can land 1 Q, 1 R, and then he's dead.
Yeah, and the shutdown, of course, good for the Jinx to have. But once again, this does just feel like the eulogy for Vitality's playoff run, as it is still a 10K gold lead. We're not even 20 minutes into the game, and a constant reminder why Fnatic have to be respected. Because let's be honest, start of the split, once again, things looked rough for this team. But historically, you can never count them out. You can see why. 7 titles, Worlds finalists last year, MSI semifinalists. You can see exactly what this team has done in their history.
And you can't script an anime better than this. The one thing we're missing now is like the Vitality comeback to make it at least a close game. Make them work for it.
Jiizuke now going to try to find something with Attila. They're going to interrupt the knock up there. That's going to be huge, but Attila's still going to get ulted out by Broxah. Broxah's going to look for the true damage. It's going to be a huge bite here. Doesn't even need it. Just uses the Queen's Fury. Jiizuke now on the retreat does get the knock up. Nemesis just cutting through the team. Fnatic playing the team fights front to back, and it's too easy because Broxah can 1v1 anyone on the map right now. He's hunting for Mowgli. 2-level advantage. He chooses to back off in the end, respecting the AP of the Gragas. We're going to wait. Just lurking under the ground, trying to find his prey.
Pack it up, boys. Right now, Nemesis and Broxah are both simultaneously trying to 1v5. It's 20 minutes in. The Baron is gone.
Oh, Hilly!
Jactroll's in trouble.
Nosy standing right next to the blast cone.
No.
Another sacrifice, a TP used onto the top side.
Mowgli died too.
The victory lap for Fnatic has been the story of Game 3. Domination from the start of the game. Broxah has been absolutely everywhere, and every single member of this team has an incredible scoreline.
I think the biggest problem Fnatic are facing right now is who actually gets MVP. That's it.
And you don't want to count a team out in a best-of-5, but when you can do that,
really?
It just feels over. And
oh my, look, he's literally on the Nexus 1v3. He does not care.
Look, comes in, he's just going to keep it going. Does he get the chance to use the ultimate as well? He does. That's the double kill. Wants a few more. They're walking right into the fountain. They just keep feeding him. That's the Quadra. Is he going to get the penta? I cannot believe it.
Penta kill for Nemesis. The series is over.
And a reminder to all of Europe, Fnatic did not come into this split to compete. They came to dominate.
Well, Dracos, I think Nemesis answered my question. MVP goes to him.
Remember the name. It's no longer Fnatic Caps. Nemesis got thrown a lot of shade from the community early on. And yes, he gets the pentakill, so it looks really nice, but he was clean this entire series through. He has completely been one of the fundamental pieces that turned this around for Fnatic. His synergy with Broxah, his zone control for Rekkles. This guy is a monster for playoffs.
I am just blown away at how clean this team looks. They completely turned things around. Every single player for Fnatic is just stepping up to the challenge. They make Vitality look like easy competition. They go 3-0 against them in very quick form, and now are looking to run all the way to Rotterdam.
Hilly flashed over the wall to hit the blast cone to knock Jactroll into his team.
Supports for the win, baby.
Like, but that's the confidence. That's
Yeah.
the level that the Fnatic are just playing with their food.
And that was an issue. When you think back about the Fnatic bot lane for a long time, you know, you didn't have that level of trust for Hylissang when he was willing to step forward and make these plays. But you see it in this game. Bwipo mentioned trust already. And it just seems like if someone on Fnatic goes in, everyone else is ready to follow up.
And it's the thing that if we do focus down on Rekkles and Hilly, this bot lane has always been very well respected in Europe, but not necessarily always for their laning prowess. We always knew that Rekkles was a god-tier team fighting ADC, but now it's that full-on aggression. And yes, it is Attila, probably one of the weaker ADCs coming into this playoff race when you have the likes of Perks and Patrick also waiting up into the wings, Kabe also in Splice tomorrow, but you know, at this point, Rekkles is like, I'm still the king. You still must respect me.
Yeah, Rekkles has been redefining how he plays, because prior it was the 3-item teamfight monster that gets a lot of pentakills. This split, it's been so much about the Lucian pick for him.
The Vayne pick for him.
The Vayne pick for him. Even here on the Sivir, they are just diving towers 2v2. That was not Broxah impacting bottom lane. It was just those two players popping off.
And that's the thing that we talked about at the start of the series that we felt like gave Fnatic such a huge edge, is that flexibility. Because we saw Bwipo carry for a few weeks. We've seen Rekkles carry. Now we're seeing Nemesis carry on picks like this Kayle, and that's what's going to make this team so threatening in best of 5, because it's not best of 1 anymore. One strategy is probably not enough if there's anything that we've learned from Vitality's struggle today. But on the opposite side for Vitality, just a crushing way to end the season that started, honestly, pretty well for them.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking for Vitality, because they did look so good early on. They really did, you know, find their stride early on in the split, but I think as it came down, push comes to shove, they really fell down. They looked like our second place team locked in, but they kept trying to play the style where it wasn't about the team fights. It was about the side lanes. And while yes, the early games had been good, you can see up against a team like Fnatic and all these other teams rising, knowing how to play the team fights, Vitality just could not contest them.
And the question for me is kind of the ticking clock on Vitality and how quickly they can start to sync with Mowgli. Because Mowgli is very impressive with very high highs, but also really low lows. And it feels like a disconnect or a desync. The amount of time where he's not jungling, or he's actually just sitting in Cabochard's back pocket trying to force a gank, but no gank happens. You know, it's cleaning up this relationship for Vitality to really come alive, and that needs to start in summer for this project to be successful and go to Worlds again.
Absolutely does, but sadly now we have to say goodbye to Vitality in the playoffs run. But the good news for Fnatic and Fnatic fans is that the way that Fnatic ended it today was spectacular. So in our Alienware big play, let's take a look back at this Kayle pentakill.
Oh man, see, it was funny too, because Nemesis just rolls straight on up here. He does not care. That's, what, 4 auto attacks? Probably more than he needed to there. Finishes off Jiizuke as well, or zones him away, and then can walk right on in and just literally right-clicking. He's doing basically nothing, but he's so strong at this point in the game. The E execute damage, also able to finish off the Jayce, and the rest of the team, Bwipo leading the charge, making it happen.
And it felt like Nemesis, the rest of Fnatic walked away from him and were taking the objective, and Nemesis is like, now we can end this right now.
Yeah, Nemesis literally just 1v5 that fight.
And I'm going to be honest, Kayle did not look that bad early game. Like, this champion looked like, admittedly, a lot of favorable klepto procs, and yes, early game to go in favor, but when it came to early lane phase, Broxah puts a little bit of attention there, and suddenly Jiizuke can't really play aggressive as this melee champion.
Yeah, so I think we can agree Kayle is definitely strong. This snowballed way out of control, and it came down to Broxah, because of Broxah that found the counter ganks around the mid lane that were able to sort of bridge the gap between level 1 and level 11 for Kayle, because Kayle wasn't getting a ton of kills until the range came through, and then she looked unstoppable.
Absolutely. And impressive that they were able to play that early game so well. Of course, as a reminder, in just a few minutes, we are going to be joined by Rekkles in the post-game lobby. So if you want to hear his thoughts on the series, and Hylissang as well. So insight into what was a hyper-aggressive bot lane there on that third game and third game alone. But Bwipo, Broxah, and Rekkles are going to be your options for key player of the series. You can head over to @LEsports on Twitter and
It's
vote.
serious. It's serious. Calm down. It's serious.
They're missing Nemesis?
You can't put all 5.
It's actually, you can't put all 5.
It's okay.
No, but they're,
Don't flame the vote. Okay, guys, I personally, no bias, give it to Bwipo. Because if there's one man who should have died like 20 more times than he did, might have been Bwipo. but also potentially Broxah. And why would I say that? Because he's standing by for an interview with Lore, and I don't want him to be mad at me. Hi, Broxah.